So I was doing this research for my own fund, and I wanted to know what are the changes that have taken place in the last year or two post-COVID. There's a lot of news about, COVID has created a major shift. COVID has, initiated a new start. This is the new normal and all of that, right? So I just wanted to understand, what is this shift? What is this change? And what I found out was very, very interesting. And I think most of that interesting is rooted to a lot of things that have happened in the past. So if you look at the change that has happened, the change is fundamental. It's almost as if the world of startups has shifted on its axis and everything is different. The acceleration of success and the pursuit of success from entrepreneurs is much more fast-paced than it was something like 10 years ago. If you look at the number of unicorns that have been produced in the last 5 years on an average monthly basis, they were around a number that was reasonable, and it was around 6 unicorns that were being produced every month for the last 5 years. And when we checked information and detail and research, we found out that from April 2021, as in this year, the number of startups that are change themselves into unicorn status is every month is more than 12. So they've doubled. So we used to have 6 startups that would get themselves into unicorn status up until 5-10 years ago. Now it's 12 of them, and this change has happened because there's a big demand both from the industry and from the venture capital investment world to look at interesting, innovative ideas and to push them faster towards glory and success. Earlier, everybody would play the wait and watch game. Sometimes the entrepreneurs would play the wait and watch game, and sometimes the investors would play the wait and watch game. And funding was slower. Now there are more investors being involved. So the market, the industry for startups has, blossomed into something that's a lot more exciting now. Having said that, but if you go into further details, you'll realize that the markets that were already doing good did excellently well again in COVID as well. So America and China were the top leaders in producing some of the big success stories in the world, while the others followed. India is playing a very good game of catching up, but it's not as good as it should be. So, for example, India has produced around close to 50 unicorns or lesser in its existence in the startup world, compared to China's 240 plus. So India has 1 billion population plus, and China has 1 billion population, and China manages to produce something like 240 unicorns in its existence, and India has produced less than 50. So that should show you that size does not matter. How many people do you have in the country does not matter, because if you compare India's unicorn success versus the United States, again, it will fall very short, because the United States has got more than 650 unicorns it has produced till now. So I think what is very important now for everybody to realize, and this is a message not just for entrepreneurs and founders and not just for investors and VCs and family offices, but also for governments. The reason why the United States has a lot more unicorns success story is because their eco cycle is complete, right? So they have the right education system, which includes all different cultures, nationalities from around the world that come in, students that go in there, that study, come up with great ideas, and then they settle there because their ideas are adopted. So you look at all the big names, whether it's Uber, whether it's Google, whether it's all of the big startup names that have got success in the past and now are majority launched by immigrant students who come in there, or professionals who moved in there. So this is number one. Their education system is good and it's user friendly from a nationality perspective. Number two, the industry is willing to adopt new technology. So every time a startup comes up with a new idea, their local industry, the banking industry, the manufacturing industry, the automobile industry, the space industry, it adopts it and it becomes immediately successful and viable for the commercial market. So that makes a huge difference. Number three, the government has a lot of ease of function and operation in the startup space, which is pragmatic and realistic. So it's not a welfare program, which is generally followed in the GCC. It's not a welfare program. It is a huge risk, but a massive reward as well. And number 4, all the major VCs, you name them, almost all of them are in America. So if you want your startup cycle to succeed, you need to have enough VCs to back the whole idea up, to back the whole cycle up. So the pool of talent begins somewhere, goes somewhere, and reaches somewhere. That's how the whole eco cycle succeeds. So America has more than 640 successful unicorns because they have an entire eco cycle. So if you compare that to the United Kingdom, you compare that to France, you compare that to Germany, all of them are within 50s and 60s and lesser than that. China, because of course the state is completely supporting the whole eco cycle of startups and is willing to take a lot of risks. So China is not really waiting for VCs to fund it. So it's a different cycle. So I think the interesting time now is that everybody has realized that everybody needs to create new jobs. Everybody needs to create new economy, especially the Gulf region, the oil producing countries, the states that have been living on welfare for a very, very long time. Now they need to move. Countries like India, countries like Indonesia, countries like Thailand, countries like these, Mexico, Spain, they need to move. They need to catch up with this wave that has come up, and this wave will now give them the opportunity to inspire new GDP, a new economy that will create hundreds of thousands, if not millions of jobs in the unconventional market of the startup world versus the conventional market, and create new IP that can be used in their industry as successful technology, and create new wealth for investors that can become the new asset class. So I think the opportunity is very big now if people just follow what needs to be done and not just do one or two things. You need to create the whole eco cycle. So I hope this video helps, but it is interesting times and everybody should kind of up their ante and up their game because there's a lot of liquidity from investors available, and you should be there to present a good idea for them to invest in you. All the best.